everyone. Welcome to the Transatlantic Call-In Show, the show where you can call in and talk to some trans people, ask some questions, tell us that we're all fake or whatever you want to do. You can argue, you can call in, and you can call in for free. Today is the 29th of June, 2023, and there is, as always, in the mid-20s, total nonsense going on about trans people every single day that you might want to ask a question about. So now's a good time to do it. You can call for free just down below if you click on the link, or you can also call in on 720-619-2288 if you're in America, and wait in the queue. We have some space. The lines have only just opened. There are some callers already, but if you call in right now, you will probably get on the show. So do it right now. Don't deliberate. Just flip and get on it. And you can talk to this week me, Katy Montgomerie, the show's resident dickhead, and my original partner and crime and show producer.
Hey everyone, I'm Arden Hart. You know me. I am doing the double duty today. So if you see me like looking around at a million screens, that's because I am looking around at a million screens all at once. But that's okay. I'm ready. I'm excited.
Yeah, so we're totally cutting the cis out of this show entirely, and therefore it's better. Should be getting better every day. Very exciting. Yeah, so this is a show where you can call in and we'll talk to you. But there are other ways you can interact with us. In a minute, we're going to go through some poll questions where you can vote and give us your thoughts that way. But also maybe you want to just kind of say something, or maybe you want to say something through us and get our mouths to move and say what you are thinking. Or what you can do is you can send a super chat of $5 or more, and then at the end of the show, we will read out your super chat, especially if it says hashtag Team Katy in it, and especially if we get double the amount of Team Katy's than Team Arden's, because then Arden will perform a backflip live on the show without any training. Isn't that right?
Yeah,
something
absolutely.
like that.
So true. I've been pumping myself up. I have no fear. So, who cares if I break a bone? It's going to be fine.
Yeah, exactly. Bones are temporary. Backflip honor is forever.
Well, I know you've got a bit of a time crunch today. So would you want to just dive right into the polls?
Yeah, why not? We might as well.
All right.
Yeah, I'm dashing off, so I'm sure it'll be whatever. Let's do it.
Yeah, so these polls are last week's recycled polls because we're lazy and we don't want to have to come up with new polls for a week that wasn't used. You kidding me? This good material's right here. So this is 2 weeks ago's poll was who would be the worst president for trans people. This was on the episode with myself and Luxander. Your options were Trump, DeSantis, or Pence. And it seems like y'all pretty much fell in line with what our assessment was. 12% for Trump, 73% for DeSantis, 15% for Pence. I'm a little shocked that Trump is so low. I thought it would be more like
me too.
40% Trump and 50% DeSantis. But I definitely agree DeSantis is more of a threat. Like it's just he's a little bit more organized and has more intention behind his anti-trans actions, whereas Trump is more, whatever is going to serve me the most in this moment is what I'll say, which can be worse, but is often not as bad because he doesn't actually have like the forethought or the planning in the movement, whereas DeSantis is actually like, trans people are, the degeneration of the West, and so we have to systematically take away their healthcare kind of mindset. So yeah, do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, yeah, as a non-American, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to argue the other side. I think that one of the things DeSantis doesn't have is he doesn't have this insane cult of
Absolutely.
blind worshippers that Trump does. And if Trump gets in power and he says, we're going to have a civil war, or we are going to execute all the LGBT people, then people will do it. It's terrifying how many people still totally blindly support him. And so, yeah, I think that is one of the dangers. And then on the Pence thing, DeSantis is still a fucking buffoon. Him and Trump aren't that much different in buffoonery. I know that he's maybe slightly more screwed on, but I mean, there's not much in it, and he's still some kind of self-centered idiot. Mike Pence is someone, as ridiculous as this sounds, at least in the context of these three, who has some level of principles. And I feel like Mike Pence, like Trump doesn't believe anything. He doesn't care. If it makes him more popular and rich, he'll do it. DeSantis is kind of the same. Mike Pence thinks that there is a war between God and the devil, and that trans people are part of the devil, and we need to be extinguished from the earth in order to free the kingdom of heaven or whatever. You know, he is a true believer. He would, you know, go down with the ship taking us out. So that's kind of my theory too. He's also, again, in the context of the other two, respectable, even though I have absolutely no respect for him at all. He is respectable to liberals, so
sure,
that is also a danger. So I don't know. I think that it's not as clear cut. Like DeSantis is the one who's most likely to do these overblown, we're gonna round up 15 trans people and ship them to Mexico or something. Like he might do that.
Yeah.
But
surprised it hasn't happened yet, to be honest. Like almost that
really
exactly.
Could. I know, yeah. Like it could be one of his stunts to show he's harder than Trump on.
So real quick, audience is telling me again that my mic is a little low. I just tweaked it on one setting that I think might have been the cause, but to be honest, audio mixing is not my strength. So, if people are in the chat and listening, please let me know how this sounds as opposed to when I was reading the poll a second ago. But yeah, no, I definitely get what you mean. I think there's a lot of things to consider on not just the American side, but also like the global impact. And I think Trump does have this like cult of personality around him that I mean, that's why I had said, like, I think in some instances the Trump vote could be more dangerous, just because if he on one day decides that, like, you know, a literal genocide is actually the solution, I have no doubt that they would blindly like throw on the armbands and like round us up.
Some of them are waiting for it. So
yeah, for sure. Okay, everyone says it sounds much better now. Okay, so now I know what setting has been doing that for the last week. So that's good. I'm glad I figured that out. Anyway, let's go on to this week's poll. We're a week late to this discourse because this is a week-old poll.
Oh God, no!
Is cis a slur?
Oh, fucking hell.
On Twitter it is. So, okay, I don't think I have to go into this too much with our audience, but obviously this is relating to...
People might stumble across the show, so it's worth getting into a little.
So, on Twitter last week, now granted, I've been off Twitter for a month now, so I've been detached from the discourse by and large, but this one did reach me that Elon Musk has decided to make cis a slur on Twitter. And there was a lot of discourse over what qualifies as a slur. Some people were saying it's the way you use it. I saw some arguments about a slur being more specifically relating to like power structures of oppression in society, which resonates more with how I understand. I think there's also like a level of historical use to degrade and dehumanize people that comes into like a slur, because you can degrade and dehumanize people in ways that aren't a slur, right? Like if I call you like a fucking idiot, well, idiot does have some connotations for sure. It's not usually categorized as a slur, whereas another word that one of our callers used on this channel like a couple weeks ago, that has a very similar connotation is considered a slur because of the like historical use. So in my view, this is pretty obviously no, it's not a slur. This is such a stupid fucking conversation. Just because it bothers you doesn't make it a slur. But yeah, I don't know. I'm sure you've got a rant stocked up, or you probably already spent it a couple times, but give it to us again.
I'm not even gonna waste my time and insult people listening to this to even give my opinion on this. What I am going to say is I wrote an article on this and you should check it out. It's on my website, katymontgomerie.com. Put the link in the chat. I'll put it in the comments too. No one, literally no one, not Elon Musk, not J.K. Rowling, not even the most wacko anti-trans cultists genuinely believes that this is a slur. They're not saying it because they think that. They're not like they're offended by it. They're offended by us existing. They are saying it to waste time and to redirect the conversation. If you see when they do it, you will say something like, oh, In the UK, 25% of trans people experience homelessness at some point in their life, whereas compared to cis people, it's only 0.8%. And then they'll reply saying, cis is a slur. And then you'll have 16 people who jump in the comments and do a little pylon, and then you have this like multiple hour long, sometimes days long argument about whether cis is a slur, and no one is talking about that homelessness statistic. We're not organizing, we're not like grouping together and working out why this is happening and how to combat it. We're not discussing transphobia. We're instead arguing with someone who wants us all dead and who does not give a fuck, who doesn't even believe what they're saying, and we're arguing with them and having this ridiculous definition argument with them. They don't care. They're not interested at all. It's literally just a time-wasting, stalling strategy. I've gone into more detail in the article, but I guess the main part of it is this stalling and time wasting. But another part is an attempt to silence mainly allies of trans people, cis people who want to argue a side but don't really know what to say, and they're worried about saying a slur. And well, okay, I'll avoid it for the sake of compromise. The reason that they know they can say this and get some people to back off, they do that because then they know they've taken one of the tools we have away to describe our oppression. Like, you couldn't describe the oppression of people of color if you weren't allowed to say white. Like, it'd just be impossible. Just like you couldn't talk about the oppression of gay people and bisexual people if you weren't allowed to say the word straight. I mean, you could say, oh, those of us who aren't gay or bisexual do that, and it's an extra mouthful, but then you're effectively just, well, we've got a word for that anyway. We're going to say it, and they're going to complain when you call them non-gay, non-bisexual, or non-people of color. People of non-color. It could easily get into slur territory itself then, but as soon as you start doing this little dance, you're making it harder for you to organize with people and talk with them and say, this is the issues, this is how we get better. I mean, evolving language around trans rights is one of the things, like, it happens really fast. Like, it's a part of a complaint that some people have. They're like, this used to be okay 10 years ago. I used to say the word transsexual and now people get annoyed at it and all this kind of stuff. And that's because the language around trans rights is moving so fast. And it's not moving so fast just for the hell of it. People don't just like enjoy making up some people like making up new words, but in general, it's not moving so fast because people are just going out of their way to make new words. It's because this is the first time in modern history when trans people have been able to organize as a group. Like, the internet, Twitter, forums and stuff have allowed us to come together and describe our experiences. And when you only have your own experience, you might be able to put some words to it, but you might end up ignoring other people's experiences. But when you come together and talk with all other people and you're like, wow, we share these things are different, you start getting terms for those concepts. And then with terms for concepts, you can build arguments and ideas and discuss them with people. And then you can even get like terms for supersets of concepts. And that is how we progress our understanding about trans people, healthcare, rights, the activity of organizing and all of these other things. And they know that when we have these words, we can organize better. So they want to stop us having the words. I mean, that's the stupider ones of them are just saying it because it's funny to them and they like wasting people's time. But the ones who know what they're doing, they know that it stalls the conversation and stops us from having a voice. And that's why they do it. I'm not even going to vote in this poll. It's stupid. Don't vote. Interact with it. Write a comment. Dislike it. Write a comment saying "fuck you, Jimmy," and then link my article, and then move on with your life.
That's good. I mean, I have more thoughts on it, but I see a caller in the line wants to talk about this, so we might take them first. That way, it kind of segues the conversation.
Okay, let's do it.
So let's move on to calls, and we're gonna take Pedro in Brazil as our first caller. Pedro, pronouns are he, him. You are live on the line. What's going on?
Hey, Pedro.
Oh, hello, guys. Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you. What's
Go
up?
for it.
All right. So my question is, sorry about that. I'm kind of nervous.
It's okay.
My question is, I see a lot of cis is what you're talking about with the poll, right? Cis people that
Yeah.
don't like when they're called cis, and but I have I think I see a little of a double standard. At least that's what I see. Please correct me if I'm wrong. That we respect people's labels when they are in the LGBT community, but like when, sorry, when like, oh, sorry.
I think I know
Uh,
what you're arguing. You're like like I say to you, hey Pedro, my pronouns are she her. My name's Katie. Can you talk to me like a human? And you're like, oh well, yeah, of course I'd respect to that. Can you respect not calling me cis? And then I would say, no, I don't respect that, and therefore I have a double standard. Is that the kind of thing that you want me to comment? Like, is that what you were asking?
Oh,
Are you there, Pedro? Oh no,
seems,
you lost him.
yeah, he's on a web call, which sometimes that can have some connectivity
Okay.
issues. So
Well, I'm going to assume that's the question, and maybe
Yeah.
he can come in with a second part to it afterwards. I guess my answer to that is like, this is not you, Pedro, because obviously you're asking about other people saying this, but the people doing this, it's insincere, bad faith bullshit. It's like me saying, hey, my name is Katie. Can we respect people in this room and call them by their name? And then someone being like, well, my name's the N word. Like, you
Yeah.
got to respect it. Like, no, it isn't. You're literally, what you're doing is the system here is we are trying to create a world that is fair and hospitable to everyone and equal for everyone, and make it so people are free to live their lives without harassment. We're not coming up with this hard set rule where you must respect someone's name regardless of the situation, regardless of the context, because you can always come up with some ridiculous bullshit hypothetical where, oh, what, it's like when people say, oh, if aliens came to the earth and said you had to say the N word or they'd destroy the earth, would you say it? It's like, yeah, we can have this stupid, pointless hypothetical conversation, which people all get angry and start saying to each other. And people come up with things saying, both of the answers to that are stupid because the whole question's stupid. Because the whole point in people bringing this up and having this discussion is to waste time, is to distract away from the reality of it. Is we shouldn't be calling people slurs because slurs are used to dehumanize and control people and upset them and abuse them, not because there's some like abstract golden rule sent down by gods or whatever. So when someone says, I don't want to be called cis, there are some contexts where maybe that's in good faith. If someone's like, you know what, I don't know if I'm trans and I don't know if I'm cis, and maybe like hard referring to me and saying, oh, you are one of the cis people in this room, therefore whatever, just like, I don't know, so I'm experimenting. Like, yeah, fair enough. Or you could just be like, well, actually, I'm a trans person, so don't call me cis. That's another reason. But if you say, don't call me cis, I'm like, okay, why is that? And then it turns out the reason your crappy little explanation is, some kind of like, I believe in biological reality and I think J.K. Rowling's a god. Then, well, no, because your worldview is complete bullshit. Like, it's full of holes. It doesn't stand on anything. And the only reason you're actually saying this, because you want to create a justification for taking away rights and freedoms, I need to live my life. So the justification behind your request for respect is actually inherent disrespect for me and everyone like me. So it just doesn't make any sense. Like, there isn't a contradiction here. I mean, the contradiction is you pretending to care about respect whilst disrespecting everyone. Like, that's a and again, not you, Pedro, personally, but you as in dickheads on the internet who are playing this game. And I think most of them, apart from the really thick ones, are aware that they're doing this and they're playing this game on purpose because they feel like, oh, well, I'm going to take the piss of this person because I don't respect them as a person anyway. So,
no, I agree for the most part, but I do think there's a lot more people than we give credit for that are that is the train of logic going on in their mind, but I don't think they're intelligent enough to actually evaluate that and to, like, if you ask them their intention, to return that answer. Like, I genuinely think some people are a lot of the people who are doing this tactic are genuinely just like, they get a kick out of
Just dumb.
feeling like a bully and like a dickhead, and that's
Yeah.
the like, but yeah, I mean, I think this is like a really easy comparison. Is just if you like, do you react the same way to being called straight, right? Like, I mean, it's the exact same dynamic that we're talking about, but none of these people, not a single one of them, have the same reaction to being called straight, because almost all of the people who are spearheading this movement operate under the auspice that they are, well, they are homophobic in actuality, but I feel like they operate under the auspice that they are cool with the LGB. They just don't get along with the gender ideology and like the transness of it all, you know? I don't think almost any of them would rebuke the term straight, although I'm sure some will. But it's the exact same dynamic. And so you have to ask, what is different about this situation to that situation that cis is a slur to you, but straight is not? And I guarantee you none of them will have internalized that enough to actually be able to give an answer.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, I've asked that question 100 times and none of them have answered it once. I totally respect that there may be some people who hear a word, they don't really know what it means, that it's said to them by someone who they don't really, like, trans people are a bit weird, or I don't know, and they're like, can't I just be like normal? And I understand that's a position. I mean, it's an idiot position. It's a very ignorant position. If you've never thought about it before, you've never encountered it before, that is a position. It doesn't necessarily mean you're some J.K. Rowling fan knobhead. It just means that you haven't thought about this. But the reason why I don't really respect that position so much is if someone's like, don't call me cis, and I'm like, oh, cis just means not trans, then someone who is genuinely ignorant would be like, oh, okay, well, I'm not trans, so like it's such a easy clear up. Like, don't call me straight. Oh, well, straight just means you're not gay or bisexual. Oh, okay, like that's it. I just feel like that is the level of education you need on this. This isn't some kind of like understanding the difference between like binary and non-binary trans people and how that itself isn't actually a binary. Like that's complicated to explain. Telling someone there's a word for not trans is like literally toddlers learn antonyms. It's just,
yeah,
I do not respect people who I just don't think that there is a genuine position that can't be cured by just the dictionary definition as a reply.
Yeah, if you are a good faith interlocutor and your response,
if you're literally just not a prick,
yeah, your only
you don't have to
response
be an
can
interlocutor.
Oh. Right, sure.
Yeah,
you don't have to be that serious.
Yeah.
Oh,
I don't know. Pedro, are you still on the line? Can you hear us? What do you think to what we've said?
Yeah, I think that Anna answered my question. Thanks so much.
Okay.
It's quite noisy where you are, Pedro.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Pedro. We're gonna have to drop the call because we're getting a lot of static. But I think I heard you say thank you, and that kind of.
I think I heard him say #Team Katy.
Okay. All right. Funny. But yes, thank you so much for your call, Pedro. I'm sorry we couldn't get you connected. I know sometimes the web calling interface is not top tier, so we appreciate you calling in and making the effort anyway, and we thank you for the call.
So let's take number 8 next.
Number 8, okay. We're gonna talk to Pamela, return caller in Victoria, Australia. Pamela,
you want to talk about trans people inventing rights, whatever that means?
Yeah, hi. First off, I think Arden, your mic is still quieter than Katie's.
That's okay, but go ahead with your question.
Okay. Yeah, so this is kind of a follow-up to what I was talking to Arden about before, I guess. Arden, did you want to summarize that, or should I?
You probably should, because I think it's been a couple weeks since that last call, and I'm not sure if I remember all the details.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so as far as I remember, I guess I started off on the whole, there's this double standard about trans-identified people wanting like surgeries and I guess what I would call cosmetic surgeries and having that paid for by the state, and like that not happening for people who don't identify as trans. And I think, Arden, your sort of response is let's give it to everyone. And then we sort of got sidetracked discussing whether that would be a good idea, but that was a bit of a sidetrack because
I mean, I don't know if I agree that it's a sidetrack. I mean, if you're saying there's a double standard, and I'm saying if the evidence suggests that all people benefit from this healthcare, then they should get this healthcare. I feel like that's
right.
Pretty fucking consistent.
And if they don't benefit, then they shouldn't.
Okay, yeah. I know it's your position. I guess the reason it's a sidetrack because I started off talking about the double standard, and then we get into, okay, is it a good idea? But I guess where I wanted to go with that was, if you're saying, okay, here's this new thing, and everyone needs it, it doesn't quite fit with the whole we just want our equal rights claim, because that's a right that we don't already have. So does that work if you want to?
You do have healthcare. I mean, in Australia, you have healthcare paid for by the state, don't you?
Not if it's cosmetic surgery, like not the same health, you would call health.
But all the healthcare you need that would benefit like your life, regardless of what categories you put it in, like you get paid for by the state, like actual healthcare.
Okay,
and we're just saying trans people should also get actual healthcare. I mean, you could say, oh, well, we don't cover this one type, but like, maybe I'm a massive misogynist and I say, oh, we shouldn't cover pregnancy healthcare because like I could do that. But in reality, we should cover everyone's healthcare. I think,
so you're saying
in state healthcare.
So you're saying that cosmetic surgeries for people who don't identify as trans are not healthcare?
Your cosmetic is a totally arbitrary categorization here, because there's some cosmetic surgeries that cis people and trans people get, which are paid for by the state. For example, if you were born with like a cleft palate or a cleft lip, the state would hopefully, in Australia, I don't know about Australian healthcare, but in the UK, they would deal with that. And that, in some cases, isn't cosmetic. Like some cases, it affects breathing and eating and swallowing, but not in all cases. And the state should cover it in all cases. So, I mean, we could say, oh, well, the state shouldn't cover cosmetic surgery. It's like, why? Like, this kid needs this to live a normal, happy life. Like, I don't give a fuck if it's cosmetic or not.
Yeah, and you keep, exactly. You keep appealing to this notion of, like, cosmetic surgery, but, like, we are saying that I'm not convinced that the designation of cosmetic applies to trans people, or even, in a lot of cases, those same procedures for cis people. And that if the evidence, which it does for trans people, supports that getting those surgeries improves their quality of life such that it should be considered healthcare, it doesn't matter if you want to call it cosmetic or if you want to call it flurgenderp, you can make up whatever fucking sound you want to call it. If it's evidence-based, improves the quality of life of the patient, that should be covered by the state. It's not in the US, but it should be in all countries.
The reason I think people use the word cosmetic is they like to liken it to some celebrity who, pays hundreds of thousands of pounds to have a slight tweak on their face because they're super vain and they want to, look 21 forever. And they want to say, oh, that's the same thing that trans people are doing. And you could easily say, oh, well, this porn star or this celebrity got giant fake breasts because she wants to look attractive to men or whatever. And I don't think we should be paying for that. But that's a different argument to a woman who has a double mastectomy because of breast cancer and is feeling really distressed about no longer having breasts, and not just, she wants to look attractive to straight men. Like, it's her body and she's what she's used to, and it's making her feel distressed. I think the state should cover her breast augmentation. I don't know if augmentation is the right word, but the treatment which would give her breasts after a double mastectomy. You could call it breast reconstruction. And that you could say, oh, well, I don't think it should cover cosmetic surgery. But I don't care if it's cosmetic or not. Like, she needs that to feel happy, and it's in a different category. Like, sure, I don't actually care if the state covers breast implants for cis women if we can prove that it's beneficial for whatever reason. I don't think it always will be, and I think it's probably net negative for a lot of people, but I think that there are situations where this obviously is in a different category, and I think the disagreement here is that myself, trans people in general, and the international medical community would say that addressing gender dysphoria is in the same category as someone who, you know, it's some kind of reconstructive surgery. And you seem to think it's in some kind of frivolous, I want to look hot category. And I think that's not only wrong, but, you know, not that it matters, but it's also offensive. So, I mean, what do you think?
Okay.
Why do you think what is one and the other? What one and not the other?
Well, I know this is from last time. You don't consider gender dysphoria to be necessary for someone to be trans, right?
Correct.
Yeah, but then
how is that relevant?
Oh, okay, so you've got a trans-identified person who doesn't have gender dysphoria and a non-trans-identified person who also doesn't
Just
have
say
gender
trans
dysphoria.
person.
Sorry?
You can just say trans person.
Yeah, you're adding like,
you know,
3 syllables.
No,
in
identify,
there,
but it's kind of a slur. But anyway, carry on. I mean, if someone would benefit from having genital reconstruction surgery, which is very obviously not just cosmetic, it's very functional. If someone would benefit from that, and you could say, oh, well, the threshold for medical dysphoria is this type of discomfort, and they don't necessarily experience it in the same way, but we can show that they would benefit from this surgery. I mean, I don't care. Like,
yeah.
The reason we want all healthcare is because people would benefit from it, not because it technically falls into some box that we've arbitrarily created.
And this is exactly why last time, Pamela, I didn't go to the burn victim or cancer patient or cleft lip patient examples, and why I just said, if the evidence hypothetically came out and said that people's quality of life benefits when they are able to make those choices for themselves, and therefore the state has decided that we are going to cover all of those procedures whenever anyone wants them, I would support that. Because if that's what the evidence said, then you can cry about it all you want or call it cosmetic, but you would be literally in disagreement with the people who spend their life studying this. So why should I care how you consider a surgery when the medical community agrees with Katy and I that gender affirming surgeries for trans people, whether they have dysphoria or not, are beneficial for our quality of life and help improve our quality of life? Why should I care if you think it's cosmetic?
Yeah, and I would also apply the other way. Like, if they did a load of science and they're like, oh, actually, this is really bad for trans people and we've got a different treatment that's really good for them, then, I mean, I would support that. It's not going to happen, but...
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, maybe that's a blind-faced statement, but, you know, if it did, then that would be my position. Whereas I think...
Same.
And I feel like this makes mine and Arden's position consistent, because we say we want what is best in terms of medical healthcare for all people, just flat across the line, you know, whether they're breast cancer survivor or, you know, burn victim or a cis person or a trans person or anything. And you seem to be saying, here are some things that we know make people's lives better, but some of them I don't want to cover by the state, and some of them I do.
So are you saying that, like, a celebrity, like, I don't know, people have this, I think, image in their mind that, like, women who don't identify as trans, who get breast implants, are superficial idiot celebrities who just want to attract men. I have looked at the sites that promote...
Some aren't.
Okay, maybe some tiny minority, but I have looked at the sites that promote... that sell this stuff to women, and it says it's mostly for women of smaller than average breasts trying to look normal. I feel like you are doing a bit of a double standard here in that you're making some assumptions about the motive.
Why should I care if you feel like we're doing a double standard when we've repeatedly explained why we're not? Pamela, I'm really tired of riding the merry-go-round on this topic. I have said it repeatedly. If a celebrity who wants to attract cis men, a cis woman celebrity wants to attract cis men, and the evidence says that getting fucking triple E honkers is going to improve her quality of life, then congratulations.
It
I want
won't.
my tax money to go to whatever evidence-based care supports. This is not a double standard. I
So I
cannot
do
be
have-
more clear. I want the evidence to inform the healthcare as it does currently, and I want to continue to refine that to have a more accurate and more an improved practice of medicine.
I do have one other argument, which maybe, Pamela, is potentially where you're trying to head, which I would say would be the radical feminist argument against like the standard kind of when we say cosmetic surgery, what we think of, which would be this kind of pressure for women to look normal. I mean, maybe some of them maybe some people are in a position where they haven't grown any breasts at all and it's causing genuine distress. Like, ruling those out, there might be a lot of people, like there are surgeries, for example, lip fillers are quite common, or Botox is quite common, and people might feel like that is normal because they're constantly bombarded with things on Instagram and on TV of all these people who pay a lot of money to tweak their appearance to look better in the context of society. And then people feel pressured to do the same things and to spend money on it. And we say, like, well, why should the state cover that when this kind of constant chasing of this made-up ideal of what people are is actually just in itself a bad thing? And it affects women more because women are more pressured to do this by patriarchy in order to, because their value is partially in their attractiveness in society, where in a way that it isn't to the same degree for men. And that is itself is garbage. And we could say, okay, well, I totally agree with Arden that we should, look at everything in a medical context and say, is this going to improve patient well-being? However, we, at a wider level, need to also look and say, are there some things here which are only giving someone the feeling of feeling slightly better because they're chasing some constantly moving like pressure to look a certain way because patriarchy says that's what their value is? And in that case, we should try and combat those things in other ways as well, like education and potentially even regulation on, like something like we should maybe ban airbrushing in magazines or something like that. That's something which could potentially benefit this situation. However, trans people wanting like different genitals is not because of patriarchal pressure on beauty standards. Like, for sure, there is, when people transition, like most people, they want to look attractive. So when a trans woman transitions, she's going to want to look attractive for being a woman in general. Not every single woman cares, but, maybe most women care. And that's the same for trans and cis women. And so a trans person might say, oh, well, I want face surgery and I want to look really pretty off of it because that is a fairly reasonable thing for, well, maybe not reasonable is the right word, but it's a fairly common thing that most people think. Most people think, I want to look pretty. And if you're changing your face anyway, you think, well, I might as well come out looking good from it. But there are actually two separate parts to this. Testosterone does known things to bone structures and various other parts of your body during puberty. For a really obvious example is testosterone makes your voice deeper when you go through puberty. So we know that there are certain things, and there are certain structural things, particularly in your face, which testosterone does. Like, it gives you this kind of ridge on your brow. It gives you like stronger parts on your orbital ridge around here. It can create these like sort of fins on your jaw sometimes. It makes your face look squarer. And part of that is bones, and part of that is fat distribution, and part of it is muscle. When someone has these bone structures because they've gone through male puberty and they say, I am feeling distressed because when I look in the mirror, I look like a man, and we say, oh, well, we know that when trans people transition, that distress goes away, and this is medically beneficial for them. What we can do is just go in and say, this bone structure is here because of testosterone, so we will remove it. This bone structure is missing because of a lack of testosterone, or whatever. So we're going to add it. And we can do this in a kind of scientific way, which is separate from the like fashion / art / patriarchal pressure of beauty. And you could do both at the same time, or you could just do one, or you could just do the other. But these are they're different drivers for why someone want to do them, though they can get merged into one. They're different mechanics, like our understanding of how to do them. You just take someone's orbital ridge off and they look more like a woman. It doesn't necessarily make them more pretty or more ugly, because pretty and ugliness is cultural, whereas orbital ridges aren't. It's part of someone's biology.
Yeah. And last time Pamela and I talked, before we even got to this concept, I mentioned that, you know, I'm happy to have more in-depth discussions about what motivates someone to get what surgery, you know, and are we just appealing to some Eurocentric standard for beauty and straying away from features that, you know, it could create a problematic perception in society of what the norm is. I'm happy to have those in-depth conversations, but I'm also not happy to obstruct someone from obtaining evidence-based care just because I think their motivation is one thing or another. And exactly what Katy said, the cosmetic surgeries, what are often considered cosmetic by insurance companies here in the US, are often not cosmetic. I got a rhinoplasty during my face surgery over 2 years ago now. I didn't get the nose I wanted. I got the nose that I would have had I not gone through a testosterone puberty. My nose is still ridged, but it's significantly less prominent than it was before because I specifically instructed the doctor, while I might want X, Y, and Z, for me, it's really important that this surgery is nothing more than reversing the effects of testosterone on my facial bones. So, yeah, I don't know if you have more to add on this, Pamela. I think we've probably hacked away.
I have just one little closing thing here, and then maybe we'll hear what Pamela has to say. But even if we found an individual trans person and we were like, yeah, sure, they've got dysphoria, but maybe even the majority of their motivation is because they're suckered in by patriarchy. Banning just trans people from this situation isn't fighting patriarchy. It's just denying trans healthcare. Like, you're not changing the world. You're not changing the system by picking on. Even if you stopped all trans people, that is, you know, it's like less than 1%, whatever, 0.3% of all the people pressured by this system, and we don't have any control over it. Like, name some trans celebrities that, like, the trans people in the public eye have no control over what's considered fashionable or what's considered beautiful. At best, we can chase it. So it's attacking the wrong thing. If you genuinely are like, right, you know, my cause is ending this horrible pressure, particularly felt by teenage girls, to change their bodies in order to fit some unattainable standard, then let's start taking down these big magazines and Instagram model agencies who edit their photos, rather than trying to block some 19-year-old trans girl from getting surgery to make it so she doesn't get beaten up on the way home from work. It's just the standards are just totally different.
Yeah, you can have a closing remarks, Pamela, but we're going to move on to the next caller after that.
Can't have a closing argument because otherwise I'll argue back.
Yeah, that's obvious.
How do you think to what we said? If that's the
yeah, so you talked for a lot without letting me speak, and you made a lot of assumptions about my position.
I don't care about that. Please just respond to the points. I don't give a fuck about the whining, please.
Okay, yes. So I think it's still a double standard because you are assuming...
Bye, Pamela. I don't care. If you're just going to repeat your same point after we just responded to you, you're not honest. You're not actually here to have a conversation. You can go away. Goodbye.
Obviously, you've got a bit of a backstory with Pamela, but I didn't...
There's nothing that irritates... So I was on the Hang Up, I think it was like 2 weeks ago, and we had a great call with a guy who left the call not agreeing with us, still in the same position, but he had an honest back and forth with us. He honestly reflected on some of the things we said. He responded to what we said. And that was so meaningful to me. I don't need you to change your view. I don't need you to approve of trans people. I need you to show up for an honest conversation. If we just talk for 10 minutes about why our position isn't how you represented it, and your first words out of your mouth are to reiterate the first thing you said when you came on the call, you're not an honest conversationalist. You're not actually here to come to some understanding or to like try to deepen the conversation or make it more nuanced on trans rights. You are here to preach, essentially, and I'm just not interested.
Yeah, I think, if someone makes an argument and then you respond to their argument and point out why it can't quite be right because of whatever, and then they just make the same argument again, it just feels like they're not capable of changing their mind.
Yeah.
Anyway, do you have a call for reference next?
No, I haven't even really been reading them because I've been doing all the production.
Well, in that
things,
case,
so...
while you read them, what I can do is I can tell everyone that this isn't the only show on this channel. We have loads of cool shows on this channel now, and obviously this is the best one, and this is the transist one. But there are some other ones. Lots of them. Like maybe you just like arguing. Maybe you like calling up someone like Matt Dillahunty and stating a position and letting him respond to it and then just restating the same position so he gets angry. In which case, what you should do is you should watch some of our other shows. So this is the last show this week, apart from on Sunday, where we have the Sunday show. It's like the start of the line, which is this channel's week. It's the Sunday, which is with Jimmy and Matt, and they will be taking your calls about religion. We have Skeptalk on Monday. I don't know who's lined up for that yet. I don't think we have anyone, but that will be good, I am sure. We don't seem to have our Tuesday show. That seems to be blacked out. I don't think that's on. On Wednesday, we have the Hang Up with Matt and Andrew Seidel.
Yes.
And then next Thursday, we are back here on the Transatlantic Call-In Show, and it won't be with... No, it might be with us too. Who knows? We haven't sorted that out either. But they're all really good shows, and you should come. You should subscribe to this channel. You should, if you like the shows on this channel, or even if you only like this show, you should go to the Lions Patreon and check out the things we have there, and maybe consider supporting us. And that would be really cool of you, and we would love that. But Arden, do you have a favorite caller, or shall I pick one?
I don't want to do number 20 because I'm pretty sure that is a caller who I banned for using a slur. If you can hear me, Gabriel, get fucked, go away. I'm not speaking to you. Otherwise, I think caller 18 or one number Alex sounds interesting.
Yeah, right. Let's do that. Right, we're going to talk to Alex in France. Why do people insist on pronouns so much? Why do we need to know your gender? You want to ask about those things. Alex, go for it.
Yes, hello. Can you hear me properly?
Yep.
We can.
Yes. Thank you for having me on. It's really nice to have trans people I can question or ask questions to, because there's not many where I'm in. And also sometimes it feels like it can get confrontational when it's, directly.
It can get confrontational here too, but we do our best to make it productive.
I won't be.
Yes, but the show is here to keep improving together, so I like that part of it.
Thank you.
Yes, my question is because English is not my first language, and I feel like it makes all interactions more difficult if I have to ask everyone their gender first, when to me it doesn't seem like it matters, because whether I address a man, a woman, a trans person, or a cis person, well, why does it matter? Because we're all pretty much the same, have the same rights. Does that matter that much?
Right.
As an example, if I present as a man, but I actually feel like two-spirited, and people address me as a man, why should I feel offended? Because that's what I look like. So it's not like they're demeaning me by saying he, him.
Yeah,
I think you've... Oh, sorry, I talked loads on the last one, Arden. Do you want to go first?
I was just going to say, I get what you're saying, and I don't think it should be offensive, right? Or inherently oppressive. I wish we lived in a society where people could just digest these things as neutral, but the fact is that it's not neutral, and we don't live in that society. We live in a society that is patriarchal, that is mostly run by males and men. And there are intense cultural standards for like what it means for someone who is assigned male to be presenting in a feminine way. That carries a massive amount of prejudice and baggage. And well, again, I would love for us to be able to operate in society and where we point to a feminine looking person and say he, and nobody thinks anything of it because it shouldn't fucking matter. We live in a society where people are suddenly going to start ladening that person with all of their baggage that they've carried and prejudices from society of, oh, is this person, if they're a conservative Christian, sort of like Christo-fascist person, they might think, oh, is this someone who I need to like beat the ever-loving shit out of? Alternatively, other people might think there's so many expectations and prejudices that are laden in all of the back of our minds, unfortunately. I think what you're appealing to, and what we've talked about on this show to some extent, is sort of a future of gender abolition, where gender expectations don't exist and these prejudices don't exist. And so the weight of gendering somebody would be completely morally neutral. But unfortunately, we don't live in that society currently. And so how somebody is gendered and how that interfaces with how they look and how people are perceiving them is actually like really important to their safety, their ability to operate without those people's prejudices weighing them down from like just doing their job or, getting their groceries or whatever. These things, unfortunately, weigh a lot to people. So, yeah, I appreciate what you're getting at, but we don't live in that world, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think there's kind of like two parts to your question, which Arden's kind of both addressed, but like to break that up intentionally. One is like, why should we care if someone's a he or a she or a man or woman? And like, if we step back and recreate society, then yeah, we don't need to care. I need to know what bits your body has if I'm your doctor or your partner. And otherwise, if we live in a world without prejudice, then it doesn't matter at all. And that would be a good world to get to. And maybe even gendered pronouns are part of, gender is something we've made up, and lots of it is bullshit, and pronouns is part of that. And certainly there are languages that don't have gendered pronouns. Finnish is an example that I often use. Well, when I say often use, I use it as an example. I can't speak Finnish. But obviously we can create languages without pronouns, and maybe if we didn't have them at all, that would just be better because people had stopped having assumptions based on pronouns. and if we were moving towards that as a world, I would support that. I wouldn't fight against that at all. But I think often when people are talking about pronouns, they're not really talking about that. They're talking about pronouns just for trans people. And if we are going to work towards a world where pronouns don't matter, but we're going to start off by just getting all the pronouns for trans people wrong, then and probably that will be the only thing that we'll do. That isn't actually ending any kind of bullshit gender rules we've made up, or really addressing any prejudice at all. In fact, it's just kind of furthering it, because all you're really doing is enforcing gender onto people. So that's like the first part. I'll bring you back in a sec, Alex, but just to address the other part, is like separately is, why is someone offended when you get their pronouns wrong? I do think that's like a totally separate subject to, should we work towards getting rid of gender? Yes, we should work towards getting rid of gender, but if, on the getting someone's pronouns thing wrong, sure, if it is likely to be offensive to a lot of trans people and a lot of cis people if you get their pronouns wrong, certainly on purpose, and it might be upsetting to them if you get it wrong because of how you perceived them and how they were hoping to be perceived differently. Or maybe if they've told you their pronouns 100 times and you just don't give a fuck and you're not putting any effort. Those are the situations when someone might get upset. And the reason why I personally feel upset if someone does get my pronouns wrong usually is because they recognize me from the internet and they're part of some wacky hate cult and they want to hurt me. And it reminds me how they want to take away my rights and how my future in this country isn't necessarily safe. Or it means they've read me as a man. And that is distressing for me for a wide variety of reasons. But part of it is because of safety. They haven't necessarily read me as a man. Maybe they've read me as a trans woman. Maybe they've even read me as a trans man. Who knows? This hasn't happened in a long time. But earlier on in my transition, it meant to me that how this person has seen me, even if just casually, has revealed that I am at least reading as a trans person loudly to people in society. And that means it's kind of more dangerous for me. And I was kind of hoping that people weren't noticing, and suddenly now they am, and I feel a bit insecure about that. And also, it's worth bearing in mind that trans people's value in society, whether we like it or not, and I seriously don't like it, and that's kind of the point of trans rights, is our value into society is to some level how much we fit in with cis society and patriarchal bullshit and cis people's rules, and that can affect things like whether we get hired, whether people make friends with us, whether we're safe, whether all of these kind of things, where a taxi will stop and pick us up. And so a lot of us put in a lot of effort to not look trans. And this is a controversial topic within the trans community, because this whole thing is bullshit. And if I go out of my way to not look trans, then am I helping trans people, or am I just helping trans oppression, etc.? It's difficult. But on an individual level, if we step away from the kind of society stuff, is people just need to try and live their lives and get by. And if that means that wearing makeup and having long hair makes your life easier, then do it. And if you're putting in a lot of effort to do that and someone reads you as a he, it can be distressing, because it's like a reminder or a signal that you're not fitting in as well as you hoped. Or and also early on in transition, it can just be distressing, because it's like, I was hoping that I'd got away from dysphoria and now it's back. I don't know, Alex, I've said a lot of things. What do you think?
I mean, yes, this helps a little bit. I guess I'd have a follow-up, which would be like if I suddenly transition or like identify as a woman, would then I feel like saying that my pronouns are now she, her to people would not change their perception of myself. I don't see how it would help further the cause. If I suddenly dress as a woman and pass as a woman, people will suddenly address me as she without thinking about it. But I don't see how making them do it when they don't feel like that's what matches. I understand the misgendering part. Like if you look like a woman, people keep insisting that you're a he. That can be offensive for sure. But like if that's not what they're coming from, and you still don't pass as a woman and they still call you he, why would insisting on the pronouns I feel like it doesn't further cause.
So
we both got so many things to say here.
Yeah, I know. I feel like I'm going to explode.
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. No, this is what the show's for. So I don't fault people, and I don't think maybe I'm speaking for Katy, and I should be. I don't think any trans people that I know of fault somebody for misgendering someone on accident due to perceptions, right? Like, you can't control how you perceive someone. That is completely outside of your control. However, I will say, as someone who's been in the trans community for like well over a decade and has been practicing changing people's pronouns for well over a decade, for me, it's incredibly easy when somebody says my pronouns are they, them, for me to flip a switch in my brain to, oh, this person's a they, them now. And I don't think about it any deeper than that. Or this person's a she now. Okay, I don't think about it any deeper than that. It is really what you're talking about, the difficulty that comes with the dissonance between what you're seeing and actually perceiving and what you're vocalizing. That is something that you can get over pretty easily with practice. And the people, so when we're talking about the evidence for why like misgendering trans people hurts trans people, it doesn't just hurt trans people who pass in society and who were operating under the assumption that everyone saw, like, just because I assume that people see me as a woman, and if they misgender, that hurts me, doesn't mean that it doesn't also hurt a trans woman who's been in transitioning for like, a year and isn't passing yet. That still is going to hurt her just as much as it's going to hurt me. I mean, there's no real point in equating how much harm is being done. That seems useless. The evidence is pretty clear. Misgendering trans people harms trans people. So, I mean, I think we all can have some respect and patience for the fact that You don't control your perceptions, and accidents happen. But it's not about furthering the cause as much as it is about preventing harm to trans people. When we're talking about gender trans people correctly, just because they asked you to, not because they look a certain way. Yeah, I don't know. Do you have a different?
Yeah, in terms of furthering the cause, I mean, the cause being feminism and ending patriarchy. I mean, a way of furthering the cause is just causing as much pronoun damage to the system as we possibly can. And being someone who looks like a man and saying, "Can you call me she?" is like, I mean, it might melt some people's brains, but I mean, that's a bit of a fuck you to patriarchy, isn't it? I mean, if you were just about furthering the cause, I mean, that's something. I mean, you could say, right, I'm going to call everyone they, and if you said if you were demonstrably calling everyone they, and you called me they, I wouldn't have a problem with it, because I'd be like, you know what, Alex he's up to something. I mean, I don't necessarily agree it's the best use of his brain power, but if they are now calling everyone they, that is kind of a fuck you to this stupid gender hierarchy we've made up. So that's cool. But I think when you're transitioning, it's not like you know, oh, you look like a man, and then something happens, and oh, now you look like a woman, and it sort of flips from everyone misgendering you as doing it honestly to everyone misgendering you as being a dickhead. There is this huge, sometimes never-ending grey area middle zone where you don't read as a cis woman, but you do not read as a cis man. And when, like, people often treat this as if it's a binary, like, oh, well, if you don't look like a woman, then you look like a man, and that's just it, isn't it? And people are just that isn't how people read people. Often people will see you and they will read you as a trans woman, and then they're in the situation where, I mean, maybe you're a non-binary person who considers themselves they, them, for sure. But if we were talking about this situation where you're a trans woman who's transitioning, and I can talk on this easiest because this is a situation I've been in. You're a trans woman who's transitioning, and someone sees you, and they don't read you as a cis woman, and they absolutely don't read you as a cis man. They're like, that is a trans woman. I know that's how I've perceived this person. Then they're given the option of either asking your pronouns or assuming them, and then they're given the option when they assume of either he or she or they. And if they jump straight in with he, and it's pretty clear that they haven't accidentally thought that you're a cis man, then they're making a statement with that. You know, why have they chosen he when they go? I mean, even if they say they, sometimes that can be a little bit upsetting, but at least they haven't jumped in with a he, which often seems to come from people who don't like trans people. So when you, Alex, maybe you're a trans woman in the closet and you're just asking the last few questions before you come out. Say you come out tomorrow, you're going to look the same as you do today, and maybe you haven't gone shopping, so you've got all the same clothes, and you'd say to your friends, hey, can you call me she? I mean, they're all still going to be reading you the same tomorrow as they did yesterday in terms of the visual thing they see. However, their perception of you has now totally changed. I mean, there isn't just man and woman, and then you go from one or the other. When people come out as LGBT, even if nothing else has changed, but they've simply communicated the information, they're LGBT, things in their life can massively change. People can lose their jobs, or their safety, be kicked out of the home. I've talked to more than one person, sorry to make this so grim, but just to express how extreme this can be. I've talked to more than one trans girl who has come out and has then been raped by a family member in the immediately after the conversation coming out, because it's suddenly like you've signaled to them that you are different, and there's this horrible power dynamic, and there is a lot of things in people's mind, their perception of what an LGBT person is. I'm saying LGBT and not just trans here, because this applies to gay people as well. Sometimes they will come out and they're not like, having sex with a person of the same sex right in front of you when they come out. They literally just say, hey, you know what, I'm bisexual, and they lose their job. And so obviously something in how people read them, even if it's a communicated perception. It's not just their lizard brain recognizing shapes part of their perception, but something about how they're read has now changed. And I think it's important to recognize that there are like lots of different categories here. Like, people are always like, oh, non-binary people, oh, they've all just got blue hair. Like, people have this idea of what a non-binary person is, and most of them don't fit into that because it's a bullshit negative stereotype. But they have some idea in their mind, even if it's a negative stereotype, of what a non-binary person looks like. And so when they see someone who looks like that, they might assume that, and they haven't just only read them as, oh, they can only be a man or only be a woman, and they are the only two boxes that my brain allows, and so I can only call you he or only call you she. People can recognize trans people, and we know they can recognize trans people because they seem to pick us out to attack us and shout abuse. So if they're able to do that, then they're also able to pick us out and then maybe not instantly assume pronouns. I don't know. Maybe that's better than shouting abuse. What do you think, Alex?
Wait, yeah. Well, I mean, that helps a little bit. It's just I'm still a little bit confused as to like, if somebody calls me he because I pass as a he, I guess you'd say, if I'm a trans woman, let's say, then that would help me to declare that, so that would change their perspective of me. That would be why I should do it.
No, you should do it because you care, and if you don't care, then don't do it. I mean, if you like, I'm coming out as a trans woman, but I don't really care about pronouns, and then I'm like, oh, Alex,
So
he called in the other day, and you were like, I don't care if she calls me he, then
there are
So it's
plenty
just
of,
simply out of respect. That's all.
there are plenty of trans people who have voiced that they, people who would consider themselves trans women who have said, I don't care what you call me whatever pronoun you want, I don't care. That's a common thing to hear from trans people. And there's tons of trans people who will say, I'm a trans woman, but I am so early in the process that I am not interested at this point in time in policing people's pronouns of me. That's a really
like Mr.
common
Beast's
trend.
trend.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, I didn't know about that. Interesting.
Yeah, definitely. It's super common to see that. I actually was just reading Sexed Up by Julia Serrano. I just started the book. I'm like halfway through, I think. And she talks a lot at the book. Oh, really? That's cool. She talks a lot in that book about how, like, there's a period of transition where, like, multiple different people in the same room in the same 10-minute span will gender her completely differently early on in her transition. She's like, the UPS guy came in, clearly saw me as a woman and referred to me as a woman to my coworker, and my coworker has only known me as a man, and so she's completely befuddled as to why this person's calling me a her. Like, this is a really common experience for trans people. Like, it's not clear cut that just because one person perceives you one way, that is the bucket of perception in which you exist. Like, perception's completely an individual thing, you know?
That is a good point.
So hopefully that's kind of elucidating something. We do have to get to some of the other callers here, but I hope that was helpful, Alex.
Yes, for sure. That was helpful. Yeah, no problem. Thank you for your time, and have a good rest of the show.
Thanks for not just restating your original point 3 times.
Yes. Thank you so much, Alex.
Thanks, Alex.
All right. We probably have time for 1 or 2 more, you think? I don't know how long super chats are going to go. I don't want you to be stuck here.
Well, yeah, I got to get up at 4 a.m. to drive to the airport. So if you want to send in loads of super chats to keep me awake all night, then now's your chance.
This is a good time.
$5 and more. We will read them out at the end
Katy
of the
from
show.
sleeping. Oh, also, I have to make an announcement really quick. Katy, Ben, and I confirmed, I think, officially that July 15th on the Saturday for the Patreon thing. Yeah, so that's been officially confirmed. So if you would like to support us on Patreon, once a month we do these Patreon hangouts where you get to talk to some of us, ask us more personal questions and things like that. I mean, obviously the hosts can answer and not answer what they want to, but it's a little bit less like the super chat section where we're on air on a show and a little bit more personal. And July 15th is going to be all the hosts of Takis. So it's going to be Ben, Katy, and I.
Same
all there
time.
For that. Yes.
Same time of the day that this show is on, whatever your time zone is for that.
Right. So if you would like to be there for that and hang out with us, you can go support us on patreon.com/calltheline. It is like one of the best ways to support the network and all of the hosts here. So we would really appreciate it. With that, let's get to one of these last couple callers. I think number Or sorry, go ahead.
No, you go on.
I was gonna say I think number 19 or 4 sounds interesting.
Okay, yeah, let's do that.
Yeah. All right, we're gonna talk to Ryan Tor. Pronouns are they, them, in Bristol. You are live on the line. What's going on?
Hello.
Hello.
It's an honor to be on the
Hello,
line
Ryan.
with Katy and Aron today. Hi.
Hi.
I'm not going to waste any of your time. I'm going to jump straight into it.
Let's do it.
I am attracted to trans men. I am not attracted to cis men. I have never had a sexual experience with a cis man, and I don't want one. But I am extremely attracted to trans men. Through coming to terms with this, like trying to like think about it in my own brain, I come to the conclusion that the reason why I am more willing, I suppose, more open to a sexual and intimate relationship with a trans man is because they were raised as a woman for the formative years of their life, and so was I. So, I don't know if I feel more of a connection there, but I definitely know that I find it extremely hard to have the idea of having a relationship outside of platonic with a cis man is almost like saying like have a relationship with a Martian. I can't like fathom it in my brain, right? So
Sure.
when I think of a trans man and I find them almost close to my definition of perfect, yeah, it's very hard for me to kind of make sense of it because I have loads of male friends. Most of my friends are male. I have more male friends than I do female, and I love them like I love, some of my family members. I'd do anything for them, but I don't want to have sex with them.
Sure.
Like none ever. But I definitely want to have sex with trans men.
Sure. So,
I
first
think
thing,
it's because of that.
if I could jump in here, it seems like your mic is really close to your mouth or like your face. If you could move it just a little bit away, that would help us a lot. But
What about now?
so much better. Oh my god,
Yeah,
a million
great,
times
thanks.
better.
But we did hear you. I don't know answer.
Yes,
Sorry.
yes.
No problem.
So I think this question is complex, and I want to be careful with it. I think it's really tempting to jump right down the like, and you mentioned this in your caller notes. You're worried that maybe it's harmful to view them, like you're sort of viewing them as almost like female plus or something like that, and you're worried about how that affects them. I think
Yes.
I think it's possible to have attraction to trans bodies, specifically, and to not objectify them and to not make them feel icky about how you're approaching them. However, I also feel like maybe sort of the framing of the language here is kind of indicative of the point that you're getting at, which is sort of this, you view them as like perfect because you get like all the masculinity without the part of masculinity that you don't want almost. And
No,
I think
see, that's I don't want you to think that. See, that's not even what it is, right? Because I've realized that as attracted as I am to trans men, it's basically as attracted as I am to aggressive femmes. I date exclusively in the female community, and like I said, I basically was raised as a female pretty much my whole life, so it'd be considered a lesbian relationship, but I look more masculine, so whatever. What I'm saying is I'm attracted to it's more like dominant character, and whatever issue I have with cis men, I just can't allow that barrier between I find you a good looking dude, you're a nice guy, but I could never, the barrier between a sexual couldn't be there.
I think like something that's quite common. I mean, I don't know if you consider yourself trans or not, but like quite common in the trans community, and quite a lot of people I know have this thing where they call themselves T for T, where they are trans people and they're only interested in dating other trans people. And there's a wide variety of reasons for that, but for a lot of people it's because they have this kind of shared experience or shared understanding of shared history in their life where they've gone through certain things, and sometimes it's trans men and trans women being attracted to each other, or sometimes trans men for other trans men, and they just have this kind of experience of being at the outside of cis normative society, or they've experienced the horrors of navigating through medical transition, or all of these other kinds of things. And these things are things that make someone more than just a friend and can make them into a life partner, or sometimes just into a best friend, depending on whether you find them attractive or not. But that I think you shouldn't feel bad if you've got some kind of I really want to date, like, because you said you were basically raised female for most of your life. If you feel like there's some kind of shared experience there and that's something that you find essential in a partner, then that's fine. I think really, as long as you're respecting someone for who they are, and you're not like, oh, you know what, I just really find it hot, the idea of some girl who thinks he's a man, whoa, what an idiot. Like, that's really derogatory, and that's something that trans women, I think, trans men also face, and non-binary people too, but I think trans women in particular often are used as some kind of fetish for men who like this kind of idea of removing someone's power or something and their male status, and then that can be very derogatory and offensive, and they treat you like an object and just like a sex thing. If you're not doing that, then that's just the start of a complex relationship. I mean, you're going to have to describe all of these things if you have a long-term relationship with someone, and you don't want to be like, I'm only attracted to you because you used to be a girl. That's probably going to come across badly. If you're like,
no, exactly, and I never want that to be a factor.
Yeah.
That's why it's something that I wouldn't readily admit to a trans person that until I got to know them anyway in a deep conversation, because it's something that I've recognized in myself that I'm not quite really sure that that's a good thought or a bad thought. I'm not really understanding why I feel like that.
Yeah. I think maybe if you were like, I really empathize with transition. I mean, maybe this isn't how you feel, but maybe it is. You really empathize with the trans experience, and that's what this is what you feel like is necessary for you to be attracted to someone. Or, I mean, another thing that I've said and you haven't really touched on, but I'm just going to cover anyway, in case you just didn't want to say it, or also for anyone listening who has this, is there are combinations of body parts that not everyone has, that some trans people have. And if you are someone who is just like, you know what, I'm attracted to men and women, but I'm only attracted to people with vaginas, then if it's not some weird fetish thing, and you're treating someone who they are, and you have respect for them, and you're just into that, and that's just what you're physically attracted to, then that's okay. Like, you can't choose what you're attracted to. What you just need to do, I think, with any kind of attraction to any trans people, is you need to be aware that even if you're talking to someone who only came out 3 weeks ago, they've already met some fucking creeper who thinks they're just some weird sex toy, or who thinks it's all just a game, or who wants to treat them like they are just pretending. Or if you're not doing that, then that's a positive. That's a good thing. You can be attracted to, it is possible to be just attracted to some certain type of trans person without being a creeper about it. In communicating it though, just don't say I'm only attracted to you because you used to be a girl, because that definitely comes across cringe. I think we might have lost Ryan from the call.
Did we? Oh yeah, it looks like they dropped.
I hope that you heard the rest of that, Ryan. I don't know if you had any other thoughts, Sergeant.
No, I think sort of. I've had a lot of similar experiences. I was contacted by this performer who a lot of trans women have experiences with. I'm not going to say his name because I'm not trying to catch heat.
I know who it is.
Yeah.
He sent me a message too.
Of course he did. He's thirsting for everyone. I heard him on a podcast literally say the words. They were like, oh, why are you so into trans women? He said, because I think it's really hot the way they've feminize themselves so much for me that I can whatever. And like that exact verbiage is exactly the wrong way to go. If that's the way your brain is going, like I'm attracted to you because you are a woman who's masculinized themselves or a man who has feminized themselves, that's where you're getting into the territory of like fetishization and objectification. That is probably going to turn off 99.9% of trans people.
Yeah, some people will be into that, but most will not and do not assume they are.
Right. Yeah, but I absolutely think there's tons. I will say, although it's really popular to say I'm not attracted to trans women, my experience in the dating world has been that most straight men are actually perfectly happy to consider dating a trans woman and are perfectly happy to consider engaging with whatever parts they may or may not have. It's just there's like a line of where it crosses into fetishization and objectification that makes someone feel like nothing more than a plot device in your sex story, rather than we're two human beings who are attracted to each other and want to engage in this like fun, pleasurable thing together.
Can I just give a pro tip to anyone out there who maybe finds Mia Arden attractive or other trans people in their life attractive, or maybe they're just worried that it might happen in the future or whatever? If you meet a trans person and things are going well, whatever you fucking do not do some bullshit speech about how you support them for who they are and, really are just trans people are just the same. And don't do some like, especially if you knew them before, don't be like, I used to see you as a guy, but now I see you women are totally just... I'm sick of that conversation. As soon as you start saying that, I'm turned off. I'm no longer interested. I'm not in the room anymore. I'm just waiting for you to shut up and go away. Absolutely fucking hate it. It's so boring. So that's one thing I'd say to Ryan if they're watching back is, if you do get into a situation with a trans guy and things are going well, and maybe you've even started dating and you've seen them for a while and you want to have like a conversation, don't be like, oh, you come such a long way, man, and like, oh, it's just so cool, like, so boring. Just be like, let's talk about sexuality.
I will say I've heard there was one trans masculine non-binary couple who started off as a lesbian couple, and then they both ended up transitioning, and they were talking about how they still kind of consider themselves lesbian. And I think it's really interesting that it seems to me that to some degree the lesbian community has sort of evolved to become like anyone who's not a cis man. Basically seems to be the category. Like I'm not defining it for anyone or for even what I agree with. I'm just saying that I think it's interesting that I think the lesbian community and sort of the queer community has sort of evolved to incorporate a lot more complexity in our sexuality, and I think that's awesome. And I think you can perfectly be attracted to trans bodies without fetishizing them. Just treat us like a fucking human being. But anyway. Do we want to take another call, or do you want to get to super chats?
Let's. Oh wait. I think. Oh yeah. Let's do. Let's talk to last person, number 21, just because I think it's going to be a quick update, and then.
Sure. All right, we've got. Okay. I want to say, is it Kaya? She, her in Minnesota. Yes. Kaya. Awesome.
Yeah.
Hi, Kaya. Right. You wanted to give us an update.
Yeah, so a quick update for everyone. So about 2.5 months ago, I called in because I was going to come out at work. I work as a substitute teacher at a particular high school. And so I made sure that I talked to administration, talked to a couple of other teachers, and I did it on 4/20 of all days. I just so that way I knew I was going to have a good night anyway, regardless of what happened. And so, yeah, the quick update is, and this kind of goes what you were talking about earlier with Alex, is there's multiple days where I'd be gendered 3 different ways. Mm-hmm. I was he, they, and she all in one day, sometimes in one class. There's times where I let people misgender me. There are times when I didn't let people misgender me. There were times where I corrected other people. There were times when I had cis allies from students. But But overall, I'm glad I did it. I feel like I have more confidence, and I recommend that it's possible to come out as a trans woman, even if you don't pass or you have aspects of gender nonconformity. So
Absolutely.
uh,
I'm glad to hear that it's gone. Sounds like quite well for you overall. So I'm
yeah,
pleased to
yeah.
hear that things are going well for you.
There's one
So go
little
on.
thing that I do want to mention. For the most part, it's been pretty good. There's one day where the person that like schedules me misgendered me, and that took me off like by surprise because like I see her every day, and I try to present probably more feminine than I do in my daily life in order to not get misgendered. And so that was a moment. But the moment that really stuck out was after school. I was alone in the hallways trying to get something from the classroom I left. And there was a student there who, as I walked past him, he made gagging noises for a good, 4 seconds. And it was clearly aimed at me. It wasn't like he was choking on food. So I brought that up to administration, and they basically let him lie. And just, again, it seems like they gave a bigot a way out just because he's a kid, and again he had his own issues, outside of transphobia, but it doesn't matter.
I think this is really difficult because in general, in a situation like that, especially if it's run by cis people who aren't explicitly trans allies, they're gonna give the cis person the benefit of the doubt, and they could just lie, and they could smirk and look at you whilst they were lying, and they'd probably get away with it. But also when it's a kid, things are different, and it's also different when you're like their teacher, because I mean, sure, it probably was some expression of transphobia, but it was also some kid just being a prick to the teacher. And when I was a kid at school, lots of the kids were prick to the teachers, a lot, to extreme degrees. And sure, when they're being a prick to you, it's probably going to come out as transphobia. But that's because it's the easy thing. It's they pick on the easy thing because they want to try and have a go at you. And it's important to sort of recognize that, if anything, as a sign of weakness, because they're just going for the easy scripted thing. And that kind of gives you an advantage because you know what they're going to do. You know what the angle is, and it's really stupid and predictable. So you can kind of have ready responses. It's difficult as a teacher, I know, because you can't just dunk on someone like I would do on Twitter, because then you'll probably get fired. But there is ways of moving around it, and I guess that's worth being aware of. But also, sometimes, and you'll know this better than me. In fact, I probably don't know it at all. But as sometimes kids, if you let them kind of have this kind of thing, and you do some kind of, they're bullying me and they're being a bigot and stuff, that kind of gives them some level of power. Whereas if you're just no, that's not acceptable, get out, then, I mean, what they're going to do, they'll just do it again, they'll get told off again. I mean, it's a kind of about showing them that you're the teacher and you're in charge. I don't know, I'm not a teacher, you're a teacher, I can't really tell you how to do your job. But I would just be very wary of some times when, particularly kids, but when transphobes say something, what they want is just to show that they're superior to you. And if you don't let them do that, then they don't really have anywhere to go.
I'm wondering, have you had any conversations with administration about how you can handle that? What bounds are appropriate within the eyes of the administration for you to respond to that? Because surely they don't expect you to do nothing in response to a student doing that. If they did it to another student, you would object.
Yeah.
But I agree. There's a weird power dynamic there when you can't really interact with them the way you would any other adult who did that. Yeah.
Yeah. So the funny thing about this particular student is that I subbed for them 3 or 4 days before this incident. But I only think one of those days I was out as a trans woman. I was out as they, them, if you may remember from before. But again, the whole time I was always visibly queer. And so it was actually a couple days before the incident with the gagging where they, were just mistering me in class. And this is when I was out as she, her, and I just did not respond. And a couple other students in the classroom, like, even pointed at the board to my pronouns and to miss. So kind of going what, like,
So cool.
what Katie was saying, of like just not even acknowledging them. Like, again, like, who's the mister? Like, I don't see them. So, like, admin basically just says that I can correct people, and that's what they said I should do, is just correct people like I would if they misgendered any other student who is out, right? So
I just gotta say, it's wild to me that a student is just gonna point to the pronouns on the board, because, like, when I was in school, somebody would have called me a slur, and the teacher would have been like, "Hey, it's you disgusting homosexual, not the slur." Like that's what the response would have been. So it's just wild. It's such a different world. It still sounds extremely.
I got one last thing. Y'all need to go, and this is just a quick little update. Maybe I'll update you a year from now. Hopefully, a full-time teacher. We'll see. But
amazing.
Towards the end there, at the end of the school year, I subbed for one class like a bunch of days in a row. So I got to know these students, and they got to know me, and it was kind of obvious by the end that, like, I'm a trans woman, I don't think there's any doubt in there. So to kind of break the ice on one of the last days, I think I made a joke. We were talking about, like, illegal stuff, and then I think I just, like, made the joke, "Oh, I'm illegal in Florida." So, I that kind of, I think, just diffuses the situation. Most people in that class, and most people in generally, will refer to me with either gender neutral or feminine pronouns, and
that's awesome.
Better than I thought. So
thank you so much for calling in.
Y'all have a good day, and Team Katy forever, Team Metalheads forever. Okay.
Get out of here! Get out of here! No, just kidding. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Kaya.
So I think that's probably all the time we have for callers.
Yep.
So, screener, Amber, if you're listening, could you please let all the callers know? We're going to have to let them go, and we'll hopefully try to get to them next time. I'm really sorry if you waited for a long time. We couldn't get to you. This is the way running a call-in show works. We don't always get to everyone, so I apologize. But thank you for your time.
Super massive thanks to the call screener. She's done an amazing job. And also to all of the mods in chat who are keeping this a nice place, a nice community. We couldn't do it without you. And I don't know if we're still looking for volunteers or not, but I'm sure you can email if you want to help out, and maybe we'll make space for you. Maybe we have space. We'll see. Thanks for everyone who makes this show work, because it's not just me and Arden.
No,
I mean, not Jimmy at all, but it's not just me and Arden.
Yes, absolutely. Of course, our mods are doing the most. We've got so many mods on here. I like that our show doesn't always perform as well as the shows of the cis men who are on this network for unsurprising
and
reasons.
Shannon.
And Shannon, sure. But the cis folks in general, sorry. Yeah, let me not be oppressive to the men, the cis people. But we have, like, one of the best engagements on Super Chats, and we have, like, the most mods that are actively in our chat. So thank you guys for making our show so awesome, because it is clearly the most loved.
This is the cult.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Let's move on to Super Chats. So you can vote for Team Arden or Team Maya Lovers, as indicated down below. So go ahead and get your votes in. They both go to me.
Yeah, obviously, or even disgusting. Well, for that, I think you should have to read out the first one.
All right, we've got 5 pounds from Sean Isherwood. Every rational number can be written as a finite sum of fractions with numerator 1 and unique denominators.
Every rational number. Okay, yeah.
Yes.
That makes sense.
Just like the number that it is over 1, basically, is what you're saying?
No, 1 over the number, and
Oh,
as a sum. A finite.
Oh.
What's interesting is it's a finite sum and not an infinite sum.
I don't fucking understand math at all. Anyway, thank you so much, Sean, for your donation. We appreciate it.
I love it how you're like, oh yeah, I get it. It's like the number over 1.
Math has never been my strong suit.
$20 from Bob Butson. Good name. Sorry, I shouldn't have laughed at your name. Butson is a good name. Thank you so much for the show. Can you please help me understand how the words gay, straight, and other descriptions of sexual orientation apply to trans/trans or trans/cis relationships? Yeah, this is a good call-in question. You should call in. It gets complicated because if you created a world where there were only men and women and everyone was a cis person and it was a binary, then there would just be 4 combinations of sexual relationships which only involve 2 people, and you could easily just have words to describe them. But suddenly, people's attractions aren't binary, people's bodies aren't binary, society doesn't view, or as much as it claims to, doesn't actually view people in binaries. And it gets really complicated, and that's why we end up with things like the word queer, which just covers everyone, because you're just kind of saying, we're not cis heteronormative, we don't fit into what the rules are, and therefore the rules try and make our lives worse. But it doesn't really make sense to say gay, because it's not really. It doesn't really make sense to say straight, because it's not. Fuck it. Anyway, call in.
Yeah, I think it's just kind of one of those, if you feel like it applies to you, it applies to you situations, right? Like, I don't know. It's this is
You're
one of the
gay
things I
now.
love about
It's too late.
queerness. Is like, it really just shows that it's just people liking people. It doesn't have to be like you fit into the category which I'm allowed to interact with. Yeah,
the only reason that gay is a category is because of hetero normative society oppressing people who don't follow the rules. Not because if you're just a man who's attracted to just one man on earth, then suddenly you're kicked out of the category of straight and you lose some rights. But if there wasn't that, there's no one to give a shit. You just like a person, and maybe you only ever loved one person on earth anyway, and they just happen to be a man. It's just nonsense. But we need those words in order to combat oppression, so that's why they're important, and that's why we still have them.
Also, before we move on to the next one really quick, so we haven't, so I think Ben and Katie had one. It was you're defending Jaredtopia or whatever. We haven't, since we moved to doing shorts, we haven't had anyone qualify. I haven't gotten enough super chats to qualify to do a short. So maybe for this one, should we, I can make Katie profess her love for mayo in a short. Oh,
no, I don't think so. I'm not compromising my integrity for this show. My fans will leave me.
It's cowardice. Katie's afraid of losing is what's actually happening. Classic coward behavior. So we got to think of something funny.
I'll do a short about how much I love Arden, which is obviously not true. I could do.
We'll profess our undying appreciation and support of the other's superiority in a 30-second short. But next we got 5 pounds from Sean Isherwood again, saying, my last one was too simple apparently, so here. According to Conway et al., the infinite number, is that a Greek symbol?
It's Omega, isn't it?
Omega?
No, is it Omega?
It's like a lowercase one. I don't ever recognize the lowercase ones. And 2, regarded as a number, I think that's supposed to be number, are such that...
Yeah, it is Omega, yeah.
Omega cubed equals 2. Don't know what that means, but thanks, Sean.
The infinite number Omega and 2 regarded as a number. Oh, yeah. So I think you might have sent me this in DM and I didn't understand this one.
I don't know what the fucking number is. Anyway, we've got this.
Oh, is this what currency is this? Rand?
Oh, this is Indian rupees.
Oh, okay. Rupees. Nice. Amazing. Thank you very much. 200 rupees from Vibe Panday. Hashtag Teen Katie. I love you all with all my heart. That's very kind. Thank you very much, Vibe.
Thanks for nothing, Vibe, since I wasn't included. $5 from a Shadow Tears Studio. As a trans woman living in Florida, it's terrifying here right now. I thank you all for everything you do. Yeah, actually,
I'm sorry.
My parents live in Florida, and I was telling them that I was like, I don't think I'm comfortable coming to visit anymore. It does not feel safe. And they overturned a judge blocked the ban on trans minors' access to healthcare, but that doesn't stop the like 3 other laws that make Florida extremely hostile to trans people. My parents were like, the judge fixed it. The judge fixed all the trans stuff, so you can come back, right? And I'm like, no, there's so much more work for you to do before we get there, but I appreciate the optimism.
Something I saw today was 8% of American trans people have already moved state or country. 8%.
Wow.
And 43% of people are considering moving state or country. It's utterly horrific. And we always talk about people moving, but lots of people just can't move. I mean,
oh yeah,
I'm sure every trans person would move out of Florida if they could, or most of them, but lots just can't. And I don't want you to feel alone if you can't leave these garbage places. Like there are people who live in Hungary, there are people who live in Saudi Arabia, and it's bad, but they survive. And you know, we've survived through this kind of thing before and come out of it stronger. And at least in Florida, you're in a situation where realistically in your lifetime it could totally change. I mean, California was very hostile to gay people just a couple of decades ago.
Yeah.
Whereas maybe if you're listening and you're in Saudi Arabia, it's less likely that in your lifetime it will suddenly become as good as California is today. So
also,
yeah, I don't know.
The Supreme Court just passed a ruling that bodes really well for elections in the future for Democrats, where the districting that has been taking place by the gerrymandering that's been taking place by the Republican Party is no longer, they're not able to do that anymore. However, we still have to overturn the current districts. So we're probably going to still have a few bad elections, but I think it bodes really well for the future for lefties in these bad states. And I think if you're in a position like I am, where you're paying for your healthcare out of pocket anyway, and you're living in one of the progressive cities, I think staying can be really powerful as a form of protest with your vote, and to have people exposed to you. Obviously, prioritize your safety and how you feel. Don't just stay because I say so. But I do think if you are able to, it can be a really powerful form of protest to stay around and be like, you're not gonna push me out with these shitty laws. And I'm feeling very hopeful for the upcoming election. There are some other bad rulings coming down the pipeline. I think we all saw one this morning about affirmative action, but were a lot of really good court cases recently. So, yay.
Right. Next. I can't remember if this is me. 50 Swedish krona from Puck Tholander. A cis woman told me she didn't want to be called cis because she doesn't follow gender roles, as if trans people would. Hashtag Team Modern. Yeah, that's just nonsense, mate. I mean, not Puck, but the woman who said that. I mean, if you don't want to follow gender roles, then just don't. But you're not a trans person and you're not experiencing transphobia, and or maybe you are, in which case maybe that's why you don't want to be cis. But yes. Can't just opt out of like being in the oppressor class just by being like, I just don't really like it.
Yeah, it's like when people cry about being told they're white because whiteness is an oppressive class, and it's like, okay, well,
but you are.
Sucks to suck.
You do better.
Like that's how you
feel. So
yeah. I would get $10 from RPG Debunks. Jimmy, I do not wish for you to have bad audio forever. No, that's not quite evil enough. I wish for you to have a low humming in your ear that makes you wonder if it's even there. Hashtag Team Snacks. Thank you for the hashtag Team Snacks. I give that
turning up and wishing for tinnitus.
I was gonna say Jimmy's not even here, but I actually have that, so that's fun.
I've got tinnitus in my left ear. It's horrible.
Oh yeah, I've got pretty bad hearing
Tinnitus.
loss in both ears, but worse in my left ear, and the result is I get really bad tinnitus. But thank you so much, RPG Debunks.
$10 from Jason Jones. Have $10 more because Matt convinced me math is awesome.
He's wrong.
Poppy, sorry. Is he some sort of mathematician? Hashtag Team Katie, take that, Matt, you number wizard. Maths with an S is awesome. Math, the single mathematic, is not.
Thanks, Jason. We got 200 rupees from Vibav Pandy again. In the realm of thoughts where dreams take flight, I find myself entranced under love's platonic pure light. Plutonic, not platonic. Katie, dear Katie, your thinking so sublime, it captivates my heart, transcending space and time. Wow.
Oh, thanks. I might screenshot that.
There's the spacing that you'd normally expect from a poem is not here, so I was really I could tell it was a rhyme. I was trying to keep the meter. It was not. It was difficult, but thank you.
Oh no, I didn't screenshot the right page.
Oh, wait here. Let me send it back.
Send me back. Yeah. Hang on. Yeah, got it. Thanks.
Okay.
Thanks, Vivav.
And this is Mo. Hi, Mo.
10
Mo.
from Mo Scoville. Did you know they measure spice and chili peppers in Scovilles?
That's why this is his name.
Oh, okay. The originals are back. Bye, Pamela is the new Bye, Felicia. Hashtag Team Arden.
I'll take it. No, Mo's a wonderful human being. Mo was the photographer for the shoot I did in Portland a couple months ago. He's genuinely an amazing human being, and he likes spicy food, which is why his name is Mo Scoville.
Ah.
All right, but up next we've got...
Look at this multitasking, producing, reading out super chats. She's a wizard, mate. $4.99 from Louise Richardson. I have nothing against Neanderthals, and they were probably smart as we were, but I didn't want that brow ridge, so I had the surgery. Hashtag Team Arden. Yeah, that's how I felt about myself. Not that, if you don't have it, that's cool. And if you don't
evolutionary
want it, that's cool,
dysphoria. But... I don't want to be perceived as another human species. Thank you so much, Louise. We've got $5 from Aubrey. Maybe the line should have another channel called The Circle with topics that are on a tangent. Hashtag Team Katie, hashtag Team Poppy. Well, The Circle is the name of that Netflix show, so I have a hard time believing we're going to get around the copyright there, but I like the idea. We do have a second channel, just not for that. So check out the Line X for adult-oriented conversations.
Sex.
Just raw sex happening all day on air.
£20 from Jackie Greenland. Just venting today. Had my GRC application pushed back just because they couldn't read the handwriting of whomever wrote my birth certificate in 1974. Can't understand how that is my problem. Hashtag Teen Katie.
What?
I am not even shocked, not even surprised. That is the level of fucking ridiculous that the gender recognition certificate system in the UK is. Yeah, I'm shocked I haven't heard that before. I'm sorry that you've had that, Jackie. What can you even fucking do? Request a new copy and they'll just send you another one. It's so vindictive. The people in this is called the gender recognition panel. The people who work in that are fucking control freak, transphobic dickheads, all of them. And unless they're listening in and they would cause me legal problems, in which case I love you. But they push back because one of the doctors wrote some bad grammar in one of my 50 million reports I had to send them.
That's so insane.
They are just there. They are just there to cause you trouble and slow you down and block you for no reasons. Jackie continues saying, I fixed it by spamming them with 4 copies, one of which was typewritten and certified. Deny that, motherfuckers. I hope that you get it approved.
Yeah, I'm so sorry you're dealing with that. That sounds like such an absolutely shit system. I can't imagine why anyone would look at that and be like, yeah, that's a reasonable complaint. Like, what?
Someone I know, and it seems to be different for different people, but someone I know applied, and they replied back saying something like, oh, we need this signature from the doctor who diagnosed you, or something like that. But the doctor was dead and had been for like 2 decades because like they came out in the 70s or something. And it's just like, what fucking system is this? It's just such a load of bullshit. Anyway.
Terrible. $10 from Tiffany M. A few bucks for the OG hosts and one of the best duos on the line. Thanks for all you do. Thank you guys. We really appreciate it. It's nice to
one of
we're the best. What are you talking about? There's not another.
Yeah.
Is there another duo? I guess Matt and Jimmy are kind of a duo, but we're the real duo. I mean, let's be honest. Thank you so much.
$10 from Dark Matter. Katie, do you tab everything out as you write, record, and then tab? Or is there some other way that you note down what you're writing? Is there a super popular tab app I'm not aware of? So I used to tab everything as I wrote it. Like I used to write on tabs, and I still do that sometimes. But now lots of the time, it depends what I'm writing. If I'm writing something really tech, I'll write it in tabs because I like thinking all of the harmonies and the maths and stuff as it goes on. If I'm just writing thrash riffs, then I just pick up my guitar and churn out some riffs and write them down maybe if I need to. But I am going to do a shout out for PowerTab version 1.7. Absolute beast of an application. Came out on like Windows XP or something. It's free. If you've got Guitar Pro 9 or whatever the new one is, it's like that, but just what it's like if you're some kid now and the first console you had was like PlayStation 3, and then your dad keeps going on about the Super Nintendo and you go on it as fucking shit, but he just loves the Super Nintendo because just to him it's just better than the PS3. It's just better than the modern whatever because like it just has the vibe and all the games are just better. Like that's me with PowerTab 1.7. It's just like you can only undo 4 times, and if you undo a 5th time, it gives you some weird cryptic error. Like,
oh my god,
perfection! Like it's just a master. You can if you copy and then paste again. Sometimes it crashes the app, so you have to go copy paste. It's just there's so many little quirks. I just love it, and I'm faster on it. So anyway, before I go on,
I definitely learned to read playing guitar on tabs. It was a lot easier than translating the bars of music in my head and being like I had to think about it's like when you're first learning language and you have to like translate it into English to like articulate what you're saying, and it's just like a huge waste of time. 1999 from Ramona. Last weekend I saw someone in public I hadn't seen since before I transitioned. I said hi and he had no idea who I was. Then suddenly it clicked. Oh, you're Ramona. Honestly, powerfully affirming. #team Katie. That's awesome. It definitely feels really good when you feel like you are effortlessly passing. Like even if you don't like necessarily like pass like the most compared to like whatever, like people are reading you the way you want to be read, and that's really affirming.
That's also something else in the Julia Serrano book, Sexed Up. You should check it out.
Yeah, it's been a really good book so far.
Yeah, maybe the second half is shit, so I recommend the first half.
We're at a really so when you're producing, there's this really fun part about super chats where they do 20 a page, and when you get to the page break and super chats are coming in, it's extremely aggravating. It's so fucking irritating, and we're at that point.
Send as many chats right now just to wind Arden up. Quick, send them in now. €5 from Sale. Another great show with my favorite crew. Love you all. Jimmy, you know what to do. #team Lashko. #team Mayo. However horrible that sounds. Well, that's a vote for me and a vote for you, so you can have it because I don't need a #team Mayo vote. It's disgusting.
I don't want fucking any Team Katie votes, so no, Jimmy is not here, so we'll have to inform him on your behalf to go fuck himself. Tell him every day. $4.99 from Brinpoo KC. 2 great hosts who to #, Team Arden. Go fuck yourself, Jimmy. Thank you so much, Brinpoo.
100 Swedish krona from Pucktholander. Regarding pronouns, if someone steps on your foot, no big deal. But if it happens 7 times a day, every day at work, then it starts to hurt. Team Arden. Yeah, I mean, that's a fairly good little analogy, actually. I mean, maybe if someone steps on your foot whilst they're looking at it, you'd be like, you're being a bit of a clumsy dickhead there, mate. Maybe back off. But if it's an accident, then it's an accident, yeah.
Yeah. We got €5 from Jonathan Brockett. Will you please do a poll to find out the percent of trans people who actually like the colors on the trans pride flag? Hashtag Team Katy. I'm always terrified of flag discourse, okay? Look, I have strong feelings aesthetically about the flags, but it fucking makes some people so upset. And I'm like, this should be one of the things that's like pineapple on pizza to our community, but instead it's like very deeply personal. So I just stray away.
Yeah, I don't care about pineapple on pizza. I'll eat it if it's there. I won't if it's not. But I do hate the trans flag because it's ugly as fuck. But I'm going to wave it because fuck cis heteronormative bullshit. So if you hate if you're a cis person and you hate the trans flag and you want to get rid of it, the quickest way, and I would join you in destroying the trans flag if we first get trans rights, and then I won't have to waste my time on that, and instead we can just burn all the trans flags together.
Absolutely.
$5 from Domestic. I miss Katy's turf wars. I understand if there are issues with it continuing. I would like to show appreciation though for Arden. So hashtag Team Arden. Yeah, I burnt out again on turf wars. It will come back for season 5, and it will be slightly better again, probably with just as many sound issues. But it's what I find when I start doing Turf Wars, a new season, I have so much energy for it, and I'm really excited to make all the thumbnails, and I've got loads of things to rant about, and I enjoy preparing for it. But it seems to be about 10 episodes in, I know something about it makes me start dreading it, and I think I now learnt that, and I think I'm going to have a break. I'm doing some summer holiday and taking some time off. And then maybe after summer, or maybe in the middle of summer, I'll bring it back. And I will just do 10 episodes, and then we'll have like 4 weeks off. And I'll try and get into a pattern where it's not so explosive and then flop.
I think trans activism in general has that effect on activists.
Yeah, I burn out on everything.
It's exhausting constantly having to, like, I hate being in the position where I have to defend myself. Like, I grew up in an environment, not to get whatever about it, but like, that was what my home environment was like a lot with my father. And so I hate it. I genuinely resent it. I show up here because something I actually hate more than doing that is when I think people are doing a bad job defending trans rights. And I'm like, no, sit down, shut the fuck up. I will do this for you because you can't do it right. That is the motivating factor that brings me here. But I hate it. I genuinely hate talking about defending trans rights. Like, I not because I don't care about trans people's rights, because I'm like, this is so trivially obvious to me. I'm just living my life. Like, I don't care if you don't like me or you can go home and have whatever shitty opinion about me you want, like.
I do.
I know you do. I know you do. It's so awful. It's really hard, you guys.
Is it you or me? I can't remember.
I think it's you. Wait, no, it's me. You read, because that one was hashtag me and you read it. And I remember fist pumping. $5 from the horsies that I saw Poppy, so I have to do a super chat, but hashtag Team Arden, because being manipulated by an adorable cat is nice, but not fair. Oh, I should go get one of our new geckos to show you all. I'll manipulate you with adorable geckos. Here, I'll put
I want to see a gecko.
One, and then I'll
put
go
up the next one, and I'll just splag it. $9.99 from Rhea Jane. Oh, Arden. Of course, it's an Arden one. I'll read it out when she gets back here. Oh, we've got a Katy half. Katy, I never hear you give any love to grindcore. I feel like that should change. Yeah, I like some grindcore bands. I like how so I like Napalm Death, obviously, because they're just a very solid band overall. And I've been to some kind of grindy festivals and stuff, like day events. I guess what grindcore is missing is the riffs. I mean, it has some riffs, but the riffs that thrash metal has, so it doesn't quite have the same drag me into the pit, and it doesn't quite have the tech, though sometimes it does. I don't know. It's fine. It's a good expression of emotion, but it's not in my top 10 genres of music.
So there are
Arden, the first half is actually related. Thoughts on a reptile that is good with kids, but big enough that my dog won't eat it. Oh, look at that.
Okay, hold on. It's not focusing on her. So she is a red
Look at her
Dalmatian. She's not
face.
fired. There we go. She's not fired up right now. Basically, crested geckos, when they are in the dark and humidity, which they're nocturnal, they get brighter and more vibrant. The other one that I'm going to show you is in a humid hide, and she's fired up. So you'll get to see. She gets just as red. But she's a little bit, she lost her tail, unfortunately. We got her at an expo just this past weekend. But she is real
she's
sweet.
so beautiful.
Crested geckos are great. Your dog might think they're a chew-toy. I don't know. It's hard to know. So this next one's a little bit older. And
If you want one that dog definitely won't, get a monitor lizard, I think. That's my recommendation.
Monitor lizard might eat your dog. So this is...
Oh, wow.
Look at how red she is in comparison. She's a little bit older and a little bit bigger. We haven't named either of them yet, but I really love the Dalmatian line and the red line, and the red Dalmatian combo is just so beautiful to me. I can't wait to see if they make any more babies like them. But they're probably a year or two off of breeding. But there you go, Team Gecko. Oh, she slipped.
Are they a gecko that can clone themselves, or can they only sexually reproduce? And can they change sex?
No, these ones can't change sex.
Okay.
They primarily sexually reproduce, but not every reptile, but most reptiles that I'm aware of have the capacity for parthenogenesis. It's like a conditional
There are
thing.
some geckos that only reproduce asexually.
Yeah, there's a few lizards too. Some that are native to North America even. I forget which agama it is, but agamids are really related to bearded dragons and iguanas. They're iguanids technically. It's like iguanidae, agamidae on the tree. And there's one species that
trans rights. This is a lizard show now.
exclusively reproduces through parthenogenesis. Anyway,
It's
okay, I gotta make
tropical.
sure I didn't miss any super chats.
I want to
here.
put those geckos in my mouth. It's the vibe I always get from cute things.
They are definitely. I want to eat it cute for sure. Also, because they eat pretty much like rotten fruit in the wild. Their captive food is basically a powder that's fruit based that you basically mix them a fruit smoothie. So all of their enclosures smell like a fruit smoothie. So they also smell like you should be able to eat them. It's amazing.
And they're vegetarian. Oh, they're such a lovely pair. That's one of my things why I don't get most lizards, because I'd have to feed them insects and I feel too guilty. Anyway, next.
We have to
I wanna
feed
go
rats
to
to
bed.
all our snakes. But anyway, $5 from the horsey said again, I have to do another super chat because I'm a dipshit today and wrote super heat instead of
I
super
noticed
heat
that.
in the first one. Hashtag Team Katy this time. Why not? I like how you got the same typo. It's beautiful.
Yeah, I
Thank
hope
you
that
so
was an
much.
accident and on purpose. Next, please. 666 from some or I'm not a mayophobe. Oh, yeah, we've heard it all before. I just have concerns about the damage slime ideology is doing to our kids. Hashtag Team Katy. Hashtag Mayo Critical. Hashtag single condiment sandwiches now. No, hashtag no condiment sandwiches. Why do you need a condiment in your sandwich? Cheese and crisps is a totally
You heard it here
valid.
first. Katy wants you all to have bland sandwiches. If you vote for Katy, you're signing up for a
Not
life
bland.
of sandwiches with no
Dry.
flavor for the rest of your
No,
life.
Wait, cheddar cheese and salt and vinegar crisps is such an intense flavor combo. It's like bordering on orgasmic. It's just dry. Why do you need a
Man.
slimy sandwich? Oh,
My
let's put
orgasms are
ketchup.
definitely
It was all
different.
floppy. No, my orgasms are pretty similar to eating, McCoy's salt and vinegar, and like real good strong cheddar cheese.
I've
and
had
then, like,
I've had
fresh bread.
orgasmic food before, but cheese and chips on bread, and chips are good when you add them to an already good sandwich with a condiment, but
No, with a
not on
condiment.
their
They're salty.
own.
It's disgusting.
Ugh.
Absolutely on their own. Just bread and crisps is a solid sandwich. Prawn
Vile.
cocktail and a
Vile.
nice fresh white bread.
So we've got probably like 15 super chats left to go, and I
God.
don't think
Okay,
that's
let's
quite
power it
enough
up.
to get us there.
Okay.
So send in your super chats, $5 or more with hashtag Team Arden.
But can you make them really short so I can go to bed?
Yeah, so we gotta speed through these ones. So
Got to start driving in 6 hours.
okay, I did it again. The last one, hashtag Team Arden, hashtag Team Superheat. I think superheat should just be the new thing.
Yeah. It sounds like, I don't know. Don't worry. $5 from Laser Lizard, the best kind of lizard. Maths problems go brrr. Hashtag Team Arden.
Same. Sorry, $9.99 from Jessica M. Love you both. Arden, your new glasses are cool. Hashtag Team Katy. I like how you compliment me. Give the thing to Katy. Also, I've had these glasses for like a year and a half, so they're not super new.
I was going to say, are they new? I thought you already had them, but they do look nice.
Thank you. I had these glasses for quite a while. When we started, I had the black room glasses still, I think, but now I've moved on. I've upgraded. These are my adult glasses, you know.
Our little Ardens all grown up. This is the kind of super chat we need more of. £5 from Samantha Patrick. Hashtag Team Katy. That's all we need. Right, next. Go on and go to bed then. 20 more of them.
$5 from Hockey in Alabama. Hashtag Team Katy. Hashtag my queen. No hate towards Arden, though. Hate is perceived. Hate was received.
Oh, you said hate is perceived.
Read it out loud. Though. Do it, Katy, go.
£5 from Samantha Patrick, the traitor.
What does it say?
Hashtag Team Arden.
Arden. Hashtag Team Arden. Yes, thank you, Samantha.
10. Oh, it's you.
$10 from Alyssa Nuet. I totally fucked it up that time too. I was the one who told Sean his example was too easy. To put what he said in a real world context, you can get any positive number in increments of 0.1 with only 1/2, 1/4, 1/10, 1/20, 1/100. Okay, that doesn't help me because I'm math stupid, but that's okay. Actually, also, I heard there is... So Matt did this one test for if you have dyscalculia, and granted, it was just on YouTube, so it's not scientific at all. But I genuinely failed every single one of the things. So it could just be that I actually have a neurological brain that doesn't allow me to hold numbers. That's going to be the story I'm going to roll with for the future.
That's not quite right because rational numbers aren't just in increments of 0.1. It's... Yeah. It's anything that can be expressed as a fraction.
Nice try, Alyssa. You're wrong. Also, we got a membership chat from Dark Matter, which I can't push through, but I'll read it right now because I see it. I simply cannot accept a condiment-less world. Why don't you have a sauce with your sandwich? Your spit becomes the sauce. Is this the kind of world we want to live in? Spit sauce and sandwiches? I mean, look, if she spits in your mouth, you know, why does it probably she spits in your sandwich?
I could eat 10 bags of mini cheddars back to back without a drink, and the dryness would be harrowing me through the day.
I have to drink like at least like 30 ounces of water a day minimum, like big 16-ounce glasses, like 2 of them.
I don't know what an ounce of water is, but I can
easily go... It's like 500 milliliters,
plus...
I think, is 16 ounces.
Often the first drink I have in a day is after lunch. Anyway, I'm going to eat loads of mini cheddars next episode for no reason.
$5 from Frunobulax. I can't choose. You're both great. Hashtag Team Catardin. Well, that is not going to fly.
Sounds like a slur.
It does. I when I said it, I was like, ooh, that doesn't sound right out loud. I shouldn't have said it like that.
£5 from Samantha Patrick, who's untraitoring. Hashtag Team Katy, there's been some good news on what's become Turf Island. Posey Parker's channel became demonetized. Yes, that is some news. Yeah, it's kind of funny. I mean, it's kind of ridiculous that YouTube still has her channel up when, I mean, all she does is break the terms. But, you know,
I did see a huge group of like celebrities and influencers signed a big letter appealing to like Twitter and YouTube and Facebook to have them enforce stricter guidelines to stop profiting off of transphobia and misinformation and like the trans hate panic. I doubt anything will come of it, but you know,
until people stop using the platforms, then they're not going to stop, are they?
£5 from Samantha Patrick. Hashtag Team Arden. All right, Team Arden, we're getting close to the end. We're definitely going to hit enough, but you guys need to come through for me, all right? Are you hearing me? Come through. $5 super chats are all you need. Hashtag Team Arden. A bunch of them. Don't do one $20 one. Do 4 $5 hashtag Team Arden.
$5 from Fluffbomb. Meteorologists have weighed rainbows and found out that they are pretty light. Didn't.
Wow.
Hashtag
Yeah,
Katie,
you can take
thank you
that
very
vote.
much.
No, I appreciate it. We've got another 200 rupees from Vibav Pandy. Sorry, Arden, but can't let Katie lose today. You got a nice chair anyways. Hashtag Team Katie. Hey, Katie makes way more money than I do. She could. You should be giving it all to me, really. Let's be honest.
We get an even cut of this.
Yeah, that's true. We do get an even. We do get an even cut.
100 Swedish krona from Goman. What's the deal with Jesse Single? Is he a genuine grifter? It's interesting because the majority of his viewers on their subreddit claim they are leftists, but at the same time spew right-wing bullshit. I mean, it's just one of these, like, I'm not right-wing, but, like, people who wants to pretend they're taking the moral high ground and pretend that they're some kind of just intellectually interested, but are just too weak to say what they really believe. I mean, just a bit of a loser, really.
I didn't do a super chat poll. It's only gonna run for 5 minutes so that we can get Katie out of here. Who is better? All right, in 5 minutes. So at 4:16, we will take the results.
They're not leftists. They're like the kind of I'm a socialist, but I think feminism's bad type of men who.
I feel like that's the entirety of the UK grift, though, right? Where they like try to pretend they're kind of lefty leaning.
He's doing the gender critical dance, yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
But I don't remember who this is. €5 from Andrew Matea. Hashtag Team Arden. You go fuck yourself, Arden. I will fuck myself so good with all of your super chats. Thank you.
$5 from Laser Lizard. Cats are adorable and all, but reptiles make me melt. So cute. Hashtag Team Gecko.
I will take all the sympathy gecko votes. We've got one gecko who recovered from a nasty infection downstairs, and he looks amazingly healthy.
He survived.
I'm so impressed with him. We called him Wormwood because he had worms in his hemipenal bulge, so now he's called Wormwood. Haha, but tis.
I don't know. $5 from RPG Debunks. I saw Napalm Death when Behemoth headlined in Chicago with Arch Enemy. Cool lineup. Hashtag Team Metal. Hashtag still not a lobster back mayo hater.
So we did hit the mark. Now it's just a matter of will Team Arden come through to not have to put me through the humiliating experience of having to endorse Katy Montgomerie, known mayo hater. 555 from Panda. Hashtag Team Arden. Let's go.
Jimmy says, not in a super chat, but in DM, you both look very nice today. Now, if I can get Aaron and John to throw on collars, we'll have a classy ass channel. $5 Australian from Jackie Andronikos. Sorry, I said that right last time and started this time. Big steps at the moment. I am on estrogel since the 9th. I'm writing a letter to tell my parents and I'm coming out of work after the 10th.
Nice.
Mate, congratulations. That is exciting. Good luck with it. And I hope they respond well.
You.
And let us know.
$5. Sorry, I was adding another one to the queue. $5 from Alyssa Nguyen. Missed a 0. Should have been 0.01. The numbers I gave before 0.5, 0.25, 0.1, 0.05, 0.01. I don't know.
He's trying to explain it in coins to make it so you understand, but
it's not going to help.
It's not technically true because there's more rational numbers than you can express in pennies and pounds.
But. Also, my algebra teacher in high school let me sleep through class, like fully endorsed it. Was like, yeah, you look tired. You should just stay asleep. It's fine.
You look too thick to educate.
I didn't do well in the class. He didn't grade me well because of it. But he was like, I don't care. If you want to sleep through the class, you still got to do the tests and the homework. So I'll grade you on that. And I was like, word, thank you. I appreciate it.
$5 from Nee. Discalcular hack. Switch to Roman numerals. Hashtag Team Arden. I feel like that might make things worse.
Yeah. I don't know how I'm supposed to. I mean, I know how to read Roman numerals, but like, it would get so complex. I'd be spending more time translating it and then still not understanding the numbers.
I think decimals is one of the greatest inventions that humans ever come up with.
$5 from Vonrek. Gotta vote for tasty sandwiches. That's right. Flavor. Thank you.
Well,
Hashtag
you know,
Team Arden.
This is just like when everyone's having a fucking argument about whether scissors are slur in order to distract from the reality. What is this that sandwiches without condiments aren't tasty? It's just such bullshit. If you put flipping like chili peppers and cheese and garlic or something in a sandwich, that's gonna taste.
Okay,
gonna
well,
be
in
taste.
my
The
view,
issue
garlic
is
is like a
won't
condiment.
be wet.
Garlic is a condiment.
condiment.
Garlic is like an additive to increase the flavor. That's what I would consider a
No,
condiment.
not garlic. It's not garlic mayonnaise. If you just crush up some garlic and put it in a sandwich,
it's like basically using
Condiment.
garlic as a condiment.
this is just
Story of a girl.
you being a bad faith interlocutor because you can't defend your position.
You're right. 666 from Frunobulax. I can choose mayoless ham sandwiches would be an abomination. Hashtag Team Arden. But unfortunately, the rest of the votes will have to be counted off screen because that was the last super chat. So you could still get some votes in, you know,
You can't. It's
potentially
the end of the show. I win.
turn the tide.
Nice to see you. I'm going to bed.
But let's put this up here. Here, can I can't move it on that screen. It's not gonna fuck. I can't do it. Okay, it's fine. We're gonna Katie wants to hide. That's fine. Yeah, see, Katie doesn't even want to be seen. This is how humiliated she is of you guys. So thank you guys so much to, of course, all of our amazing mods and to the screener Amber for screening for us. We appreciate you guys so much. And thank you all for the super chats. I will make sure I get my YouTube short up on the channel before long. But we will hopefully see you guys either at the Patreon event next week, next month, that's July 15th. Or we'll see you next week right here on the show, and check out all the other shows on the network and subscribe to our Patreon. And that way you can get your name put on the roster when we do the outro right now. Ooh, it looks so... Oh, it muted Katie. I didn't even do that on purpose. That's great. Thank you guys so much. We appreciate you all. See you next